everybody. It's Chrissy's, and our line is Wootini, here with another Gay Gamer video podcast. This week, I was finally able to see Late Night with the Devil. As you might recall in a previous episode, I talked about not being able to see it in theater, but then saying I'd rather see it on TV because the whole premise is it's footage of a late night talk show where the host has on a possessed girl and basically has the devil as a talk show guest. So it's like, here is the episode that aired. And so I thought that would be it would just be more effective watching it on a TV. Obviously not a widescreen flat TV, it should be an old tube TV, but what are you going to do? Nobody has those anymore. I knew it would be streaming on Shudder because it was a Shudder production. I just didn't know it would be streaming on Shudder so quickly. But there it was, and we watched it, and I was very excited at the beginning because it comes on and like the 70s decor and costumes and hair and makeup, it all looks very 70s, and they've filtered it to look like it was shot on video, and it was square, which was very exciting for me because I was concerned that they'd make it a movie. It would just be a widescreen movie, but it was square, which is the way it should be if it's actually purporting to be footage from a 70s late night talk show. So that was really cool, and I got very excited, and I was like, this looks great. I am all in, let's go. The problem is that it's like they couldn't commit to that premise, and they couldn't tell their story within that framework. So they have, every time they go to an ad break, it would cut to behind the scenes footage, which was black and white, and there were edits, so there's like multiple cameras backstage, and I'm just like, no. Like, now you've pulled me out of the illusion that this is a real television show that actually aired on late night TV in the 70s. Now you've got like basically a movie during the commercial breaks. And so that pulled me out of it, and that I didn't like, and I was like, come on, like if you're gonna do this kind of a thing, like not found footage obviously, but commit to the bit, you know? And then, so those commercial breaks with the movie-like editing of the behind-the-scenes footage pulled me out of the illusion, kind of ruined it. And then the ending completely pulled me out of it, and I was like, no. That was disappointing. Which is a shame because, like I said, the costumes and sets and the actors are good. It's all very 70s looking, and there's some cheesy effects here and there that were like, but it was kind of going along middling, and then the ending just ruined it, and I ended up being disappointed. So it reminded me of, there's a BBC mockumentary called Ghost Watch that I think should still also be streaming on Shudder, because I watched it on Shudder like last month. And that is basically like a BBC documentary show where they follow ghost hunters into a haunted house, but they commit to the bit and they stick to the framework and present it as a real show, and it's so much more effective for doing that. And Late Night with the Devil did not commit to the bit fully, and I was disappointed. So, and then this week, I went to the movies, and I wanted to see The First Omen, but it's been a couple of weeks, so now it's still playing in theaters, but the show times are not nearly as convenient, and the afternoon showtime that I would have liked to have gone to see, that would have been very convenient for me, is the one with the on-screen captions, and I don't want subtitles on an English movie. Thank you very much. I find it very distracting. My husband loves watching TV with subtitles on. I can't, it's distracting. Unless it's a foreign language, I don't want subtitles. So instead, I decided, everyone's going to see this vampire ballerina girl, but I thought I would go and drool over Henry Cavill killing a bunch of Nazis. I went to see the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, the new Guy Ritchie movie, and it was fine. I ended up not drooling over Henry Cavill as much as I was drooling over Alan Ritchson. Whoo! So, like, the cast is all very attractive. And also, it's occasionally a little gay. There's a scene between Alan Ritchson and Henry Golding that I'm like, are you joking? Or is this for real? Like, this is, The main problem with the movie, I just want to see a bunch of Nazis get brutally killed, and so for that, it was very effective. But the problem is that these men and one woman are going around killing Nazis, and they're just so good at it that they're just very casual about it, and they're all very lackadaisical and too cool for school, and there's like, do, blow this up, shoot these people here, and there's like, do, and it's so casual, and it seems so easy for them that it doesn't, there's no tension, there's no excitement, it doesn't build anything. You're never feeling like, oh no, will they be able to pull off this? No, like obviously they're going to do it because they're so cool and they can do anything. It's loosely based on a real life incident that happened in World War II, where these people helped defeat the Nazis and break their stranglehold on England to allow America in to help as an ally in World War II. And it just sort of was like, if you're going to fictionalize this, like, go all out, you know, like really go for it and like make it exciting. And it just was sort of like, they're all like lackadaisical about it, so the whole thing felt kind of lackadaisical, and I was a little disappointed that it wasn't like as exciting as I wanted it to be. It's amusing, and yes, lots of Nazis get killed, so that's always entertaining. And yes, the cast is very attractive, so you don't really need to see it on a big screen and spend money on it. But, you know, you could stream it if you want to watch the Nazis get killed, because that's always a good time. Nobody likes the Nazis. They're the best movie villains ever. As for games, I am still playing the same games, so I'm not going to be talking about any of that, because there's other things that I want to talk about, because Nintendo had an indie showcase last week, and there were some stuff in there that caught my eye. First, they started with Little Kitty Big City, which I continue to be absolutely charmed by. It looks adorable, but it's out next month and there's too much else going on, so I'm like, you're gonna have to wait. And then there's this other game called Stitch, which is a puzzle game where there's like a grid of different shapes with like numbers in them, and it's like, okay, that's a 5, so there's gonna be like 5 spaces including that number. Do they go this way or that way or around or whatever, and you fill in the different spaces with the different numbered of colored spaces, and then in doing so, you fill in a pattern that becomes a cross stitch, which I thought was super cute. And it's out now. It's actually been out for it's been like on the Apple Store, and I think it might be on Steam as well. But it does fit, it's like, so you can play it on your iPad or your phone or something, and it is a good like touchscreen game, like kind of thing, so it will work on the Switch. But that's out now, and again, too much to play, I can't, even a puzzle game. So it's the kind of thing where I'll probably wait for a sale, because right now Nintendo has been having an indie game sale where there's a bunch of indie games that are on sale for like 20, 30, 40, 50% off. And so I'm like, these are games that I might play sometime down the road when they have a sale and I see that they're on sale and it's like, oh, it's only $10, I'll get it, sure. You know, good, but right now I got too much else to play. There is one other game in the indie showcase that really caught my eye, and that was Europa, which you play as this little boy who I believe is either half or all robot. I'm not sure how much robot, but he's definitely at least part robot, who has this like jetpack backpack thing, and you explore Europa, which has been terraformed to be absolutely utterly gorgeous. The creator said in the presentation that he was inspired by watercolor paintings, and sure enough, it is gorgeous. And the backgrounds, the trees, the grass, it's all super blendy, watercolory stuff, and it just looks amazing. I was a little confused because it's got, you know, this very cool Zen-like world, and you've got this beautiful, calming music, and it felt like a chill-out kind of game. But then I saw platforming with like disappearing boxes that you have to jump on and, you know, platform across. And I'm like, if you're trying to make a chill-out game, you do not want it to be a platformer, because that's going to stress you out and you're not going to be very chill when you're going, trying to jump things. So I was a little concerned about that. But then they're like, it's out later this year, but there's a demo out now. So I said, oh, perfect. So I tried the demo. And I was completely captivated by this beautiful world. It's gorgeous. And there's a little bit of a story that seems to be coming through as you find pages of like a diary from your father, creator. I'm not sure. It's all vague at this point because it's basically the beginning of the game. And there was one bit where there were some disappearing boxes that, you know, would appear and disappear in a pattern, and it was like, okay, so you're just going to jump from one to the other with your little backpack. But you also can glide. You can jump up, and then you can glide with the backpack, and then you also get the ability to like levitate. Like you can float up into the air and then glide. So you could honestly, I think, well, no, it might have been a little high to fly up and glide over, but you could like do a couple of the boxes, and then as it disappeared, you go, whoa, you can quick hit the levitate button and float up, and then you can glide your way over. So with that ability of like floating and gliding, the platforming isn't as stressful as I thought it would be. It might get harder later in the game. I don't know. I would hope not if they're going for a Zen kind of experience, but we'll see. But I am intrigued, and it is something that I will probably keep an eye out for whenever it releases. But I have too much to play, and after the indie showcase later that day, Nintendo also released another trailer for Endless Ocean Luminous, which you know I am all excited about, because I love the Endless Ocean games. The problem is that once again, the trailer is all about the multiplayer, and I am just like, no. When I play an Endless Ocean game, I want it to be me, alone with the fishes, under the water, with just new age music and maybe some bubbling sound effects. That's it. I don't want anybody else around me. I do not want 29 other people getting in my way. Also, I don't understand how the Veiled Sea is going to be different every time you dive. Like, do you get to choose, I want to dive in a coral reef, or I want to go to a deep subterranean place? Or do you just dive and it randomly puts you wherever it feels like? Because how are you supposed to collect all the fishes, like identify all the different fish, if you keep diving but it never puts you in a coral reef, you know? And then you never get to tag any of those fish, you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand how that's supposed to work. I feel like it's more likely that you would pick the type of place you want to dive into, and it will just randomly generate a coral reef for you. And then there will be all of those fish that you would normally find in a coral reef. That way you can still kind of collect what you need to collect, because, you know, otherwise you're never going to collect anything. But when you do the multiplayer, if you get close enough to another diver, you can become like dive buddies, which means that you can share your information and discoveries. And I am just like, no, I want to discover everything myself and feel that sense of accomplishment. I don't want to suddenly be like dive buddies with somebody and like 50 fish are suddenly, you know, named in my catalog. And I'm like, no, that would be annoying. So I'm really not looking forward to the multiplayer. However, in the trailer, there was a bit where they were showing the menu and you saw the multiplayer, and then there was the single player dive, but then there was also story. And there's a story mode. So I'm like, okay, that gives me hope that there's not just a single player game where you're single player dive randomly, but there's a story. So I'm like, where's my story trailer? You know, I want a preview of what is the story? What do I get to experience in Endless Ocean Luminous as a player who doesn't want to dive with 29 other people? What do I get if I just want to play it by myself? Tell me that. Still buying it, but I would still like to know and be reassured that when I do spend $50 on this game, I'm going to be able to enjoy it by myself. So that is it for this week. Come back next episode and I'll have more to talk about, and you'll just sit there and listen to me as I ramble on like a crazy person. See you then.